Welcome, everyone. Excited to be here with you today. Obviously, the topic of managing stress is of key importance to everyone who is here today. And we're, in our short time together, I'm expecting that we'll be able to look at the cycle of stress, explore some principles. And first, before we look at our objectives, just curious, who is familiar with Dale Carnegie? Just give me a raised hand. You can raise a hand or a reaction. Okay, so yeah, most people, everyone's familiar with Dale Carnegie. I know I was talking to Paul. Paul, could you just come off mute and tell us how are you familiar with Dale Carnegie?
Many years ago, when I was working for a truck dealership, they sent, there was, I don't know how many of us went to a 2-day seminar on sales tactics.
Yeah, okay. And the benefits today, how has that impacted you until today?
It gave an insight on how to successfully prospect for customers and how to talk to customers to gain, so that they can gain your trust and so forth.
Right on. Okay, thanks, Paul. And everyone, I mean, you might also be familiar. We definitely do coach on sales training, as well as you may be familiar with the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, and or either How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. So this is one of the books that we'll be, taking some principles from today, is to managing our stress. And one great thing is we're proud we are celebrating our 111th birthday. So Dale Carnegie started back in 1912. So we're excited, time-tested principles. So we'll have a chance to look through those principles, connect with others. And also, one thing about Dale Carnegie, the differentiator is that it is always actionable. We'll look at some principles, create a commitment, and look at how we can put these principles into our everyday life, just as Paul had done years ago in his sales training, and still having the impact today, which is amazing. So let's look at our world, our current reality. What are some changes going on with you right now? Let's just open this up. You could feel free to come off mute, and also put it into the chat if you'd like. What are some changes that you're experiencing right now that may be even causing you some of that stress?
Can we just jump in, or do you want us to raise our
Yeah,
hand?
sure.
Oh, okay. For me right now, there's always work stress, so that's not a new thing. But for me, the last, I would say 3 years or so, it's about family and navigating elderly parents, and that whole stress, the stress that comes with that for their care, going through all the systems of care, figuring out who's going to care for them. So that's been a huge change in my family, and a huge stress for my sister and I as well. And my mother actually passed away last year, but now we're dealing with my father and taking that on with him. So that's changed in my life. That's been a huge, huge change for our family.
Yeah, thank you for being open and sharing that with us, Arlene. And what are some challenges, because that those changes are going on for you? What are some challenges that you're experiencing?
I think navigating the healthcare system and
Mm-hmm.
long-term care and hospitals and assisted living, that whole world, if you're not familiar with it, and suddenly you have to place parents into homes and care in hospitals, it's daunting, and there's a lot of information, and even the financial aspect of it, taking on their banking, all that kind of thing, wills, powers of attorney. it's a whole world that if you're not already involved in it,
Yeah.
it can be a little overwhelming. A lot of meetings with hospital staff, with finance people. So yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that as we're looking after my husband's looking after his father as well in those regards. So and meanwhile we still have careers that we're working through, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when for me, because yes, I have a boyfriend, but I mean, prior to this recent relationship, I was single. So I'm also doing this on my own. My sister doesn't live close by. So
Sure.
it's also hard to do it when you don't have a support system in place. There's no one to support you. Anyway, I don't want to make this. I feel like I'm
Yeah, it's
oversharing. But anyways, so yes, that's where I'm feeling the stress.
Yeah, no problem, Arlene, and thanks for really, being open with us because this is your reality. And Leslie, you put in here trying to accomplish a lot more work in less time. I think we can all relate to that. Could you please just come off mute and expand on that? How has that changed for you?
Well, I think since the pandemic, a lot has
Yeah.
changed for our
Sure.
business model, and it has made us a lot busier, a lot more customers, which we welcome. But we are a small business and have a limited amount of staff and a limited amount of space, so I can't just keep hiring folks. And so as we grow, there's just more work to do, and we have really high expectations of our performance and want to deliver great service to our customers. So just trying to keep all that going.
Right on.
Stressful.
I can relate as we're, Dale Carnegie, we're a small business as well, although we're located globally in over 80 different countries. It's small franchises all throughout the world. Yes, and it's our reality. Again, it's how it is. Like you mentioned, is you'd like to hire more people, but the reality is you don't have space for them. So innovative, workarounds are definitely something that we're working with as well. And thank you, Arlene. You said you can relate to Leslie as well. And and this is our reality, our challenges that we're faced. If Let's see, Leslie, would you mind reading this for us?
A certain amount of stress is a normal part of daily life. Small doses of stress help people meet deadlines, be prepared for presentations, be productive, and arrive on time for important events. However, long-term stress can be harmful. When stress becomes overwhelming and prolonged, the risks for mental health problems and medical problems increase. Ah, Canada.
Yeah. How does this resonate for you?
I totally agree, understand, but it's easy to read something and totally agree, and then to actually apply um,
Yeah.
techniques to reduce stress or keep it at a healthy level is why I'm in this class.
Exactly. Thanks for being so authentic there, because it's as we look at our stress and it's important to look at our reality. There's a cycle of stress. You may relate to this when we are stressed out. We have emotions, and just in the chat, what are some emotions that you feel when you are stressed out? I know for myself, feel a little flustered, frustrated. Yeah, we're hearing loss of patience, absolutely overwhelmed, rushed. And I think we're all relating to this overwhelming feeling. And yeah, and that's how do we act when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're frustrated, right? And what type of results do we get when we're in that height of stress, when we're feeling frustrated? What type of results do we achieve? And thank you, Leslie. Cannot be our best selves. That's right. So we're going to look at some tools, and this cycle can keep on continuing. I'm not saying that we're constantly in that mode of stress, but it can become a cycle for sure. And thank you, Paul. Feeling of not doing your job to your fullest potential. It really can hold us back. We can lose perspective, right? What we have here is often we experience a stressful situation. We become more irritable, less cooperative, and may even become distant from others. And why are we unable to put this issue into perspective? And, it suggests is a good place to start is answering that question, is to determine how much control we have over the situation. And so I like to look at it as this formula of E plus R equals O. First, we have the event, and that's our the event, our circumstances that are occurring. We have a reaction, and then we have the outcome. But looking at the control, what do we actually have control over? The event, circumstances, not so much control, right? Maybe in some situations we do, but generally our circumstances our reality is what is happening. And then we have our reaction, and we like to suggest that the reaction it is under our control. It's we can learn tools, which I'm hoping that I'll be able to bring out some of Dale Carnegie's tools here today for managing our stress. And then once we're able to manage our stress, use some of these tools, our reaction becomes more positive. And that is where we can have control over our outcome in what we're creating as our reality. For example, there's different perspectives we can look at. I'm just going to take you through two perspectives of the same event. So I'm the regional leader for our area in Ontario, Canada, and also the vice president of operations. So I also have a role in sales, and sometimes, I'll be contacting our clients and they'll tell us, because of the economic conditions right now, is that our training budgets are frozen. So that's not anything that I personally can control. A reaction is I could complain that life is tough, I get frustrated, and the outcome is perhaps my productivity and my morale go down. I feel stressed. Another perspective, a more positive perspective, I call this building momentum perspective, or either you might think of it even as a growth mindset, is same event. Say a client tells me that their training budget is frozen. A reaction I could take is I create momentum by building value and adding value to that client. And then the outcome is that I continue servicing my client. And I will say that this really has been a perspective that I've looked at using throughout COVID, and even currently, is I've had to change my mindset around to adding value, because it was a reality for us during COVID. Our clients, I'm thinking of one client particularly, and they said, sorry, our training budgets have frozen. And what I did was I took the opportunity to offer some complimentary workshops for them. One specifically was for their women's leadership team. And I added that value. And now that we're in a little bit of a different economy, the pandemic is over, and we're getting back to a somewhat norm, the client is re-engaging with us. So their training budgets have reopened, and again, I'm still working with that organization. So that's and I love this quote by Oprah Winfrey, is the greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change his future by merely changing his attitude. And I'm also a Dale Carnegie trainer, and I was just in a class yesterday, And one revelation I would say that the class came up with is that we have choices. And let's look at some of the principles that in a moment we'll look at some of Dale Carnegie's principles. And these are some principles that everyone here, we can use it at a different time in our lives to help us manage through that stress. So just thinking about what is one outcome you're working towards. So looking at one outcome. So for example, the outcome I was looking for before is always to be seen as a trusted advisor to my clients. So in the chat, please type in there, what is one outcome you're working towards? And also, Joanna, if you'd like, you can share that article link with the group in the chat. Thanks, Cassie. I thank you for contributing. Better communication as an outcome. And Cassie, could you just come off mute and just tell us a little bit more about what, in what situations are you looking for better communication?
So within our organization, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people doing different things, but also a lot of people doing the same things. And I just think that if we, as a team, had better communication, then some of the smaller things that happen or fall through the cracks, we could eliminate. And then that would just be a less stressful situation for all of us.
Absolutely. And I always like to think of, literally business is created through communication. I mean, we can't do anything without communication. It's we like to think we can do things on our own, but we always need others' involvements and other people's collaboration, their cooperation. And thank you, Arlene. You said you're striving for more patience. Okay, so let's look at some of these principles. There are 30 principles from Dale Carnegie's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. We're just going to take a look at 10 of those principles here today and look at ways that these principles can help us in managing our stress. So looking at principle number 1, this one, live in day-tight compartments. I learned this earlier on in my career, is taking that block time. Sometimes, let's just say I do this now. If I need to make some calls to my clients, I'll section off maybe just half an hour to make those calls. And whatever it is for you, like living in a day-tight compartment can create that laser focus. Just wanted to clarify on that day-tight compartments. As Dale Carnegie says, don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Is just in that moment, have that laser focus where we can, just I call it block time. Does anybody else use block time to focus in on their priorities? Just raise your hand or use a reaction, that block time. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Cassie. Yeah, that block time it really gets me through. I know I was feeling overwhelmed. I had to reach out to 4 clients and I don't know, for some reason it seemed overwhelming to seem like I wasn't contacting them because I knew it would take a couple hours to do these 4 calls. So instead I broke it into more manageable compartments. And I've already had calls with one person one day, which only took 20 minutes. So it's, breaking it down into those day-type compartments can help. Number 2 is ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? And again, looking at putting our circumstances into perspective. And sometimes does anyone relate to this? Ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Sometimes, my brother right now he's part of a union and he's a welder and he's looking at getting voted in as one of their reps and, a support rep. and I helped him with his poster and, vote for him. And we put that together, and I said to him, just do the best you can. And what's the worst that can happen? Because he was telling me that there was one lady that's already doing this position and she'll probably get reelected. And I said, don't worry about it. What's the worst that can happen? You can try again next year. So he's like, it just helped relieve his stress a little bit. Number 3 is fill your mind with thoughts of peace, courage, health, and hope. Does anyone relate to this or already do this? Maybe it's meditating. I know from one of my participants, he stretches himself and does yoga to be able to, to do that meditation. He finds that helps him. Other ways, I know some people, one of my participants also, they work out in a gym. So whatever, yeah. Awesome. Leslie, could you just expand? How do you, what do you do? Tell us how you try to just cultivate that relaxing, that hope and peace in your mind.
Well, I have the luxury of coming into work with my husband, and so he's often driving, and so he's not really a communicator at 7 o'clock in
Okay.
the morning.
Yeah.
So I just find myself looking at things, looking at nature as I drive, how pretty an area that we live in. And I really absolutely concentrate on like the minutia, like the color of leaves or pretty flowers or this cute dog walking down the street. And I absolutely am focused on it, not just like as I'm driving by checking it all out, but I'm like
Yeah.
actually looking at it, thinking of it, and thinking how fortunate we are to live in this environment. And I just try to think of how lucky we are
Yeah.
when you see
Yeah.
a lot of that's going on in the world.
Absolutely. And what does that do for you, Leslie?
Makes me feel great by the time I get to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh, wow, what a way to, reset your mind, to, put yourself at, I always talk about being that inspiring leader. We need to be that inspired leader ourselves, right? And creating that upward spiral versus the downward spiral. And trust me, both are very contagious. It's but it goes both ways. So we have, like I said, we have the choice in which way we want to, project ourselves, how we want to show up. So good for you. And Arlene, thank you. Morning meditations, a lot of walks. Absolutely. The other fourth one is create happiness for others. I know that my father, he's 86 years old and he does live on his own. I do see him, regularly, but he is on his own, and he tells me that he'll go into the local mall, and he has peacocks. He has like a little hobby farm himself, and he brings peacock feathers. And he goes into the local mall and he gives out these peacock feathers to the individual store, cashiers or store people that are working there. And I find that, it's interesting because he brings happiness to other people, which is probably makes him feel better as well. Yeah, absolutely. And the fifth one is keep busy. And looking at these principles, I just want to say that not every principle can fit into every situation, right? Sometimes we need to slow it down, right? Sometimes there's times if we're stewing about things, sometimes keeping busy is a good way to keep your mind off of what is going on. I know my mother, she's passed away now of cancer, but during her cancer treatments, I would make time to see her, but also I would keep busy. And I know thankfully, my manager at the time, she was very flexible. And I remember being by her bedside, and I actually had my laptop there. And while my mother was sleeping, I would be catching up on my work a little bit, and then she'd wake up and I was there for her. So it's in different ways, like we can keep busy, and that can help us move through that worry and stress, right? And number 6, has anybody graduated the Dale Carnegie course? Just give me a hands up if you've graduated the Dale Carnegie course. Okay, Arlene, could you please come off mute? Do you, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. When did you take the program?
Oh God, I'm going to say 2018, 2019.
Okay.
It was before
Okay,
COVID.
so yeah, right on. So not that far apart.
No.
You know, I'm just thinking about the put enthusiasm into your work. You might recall in the Dale Carnegie course, we work a lot on our enthusiasm, right? It's because we really
Yes.
value coaching ourselves on our attitude. Do you remember that? You know, there you might have done some exercises.
I don't think I have ever been as enthusiastic for several weeks at a time as when I was taking that course. I was enthusiastic all the time. Yeah, it's great.
Right on, right on. And again, we really work on the time-spaced learning. The Dale Carnegie course now is 8 weeks plus a kickoff meeting. And you know, we implement part of that is our enthusiasm. How are we showing up? How are we creating that upward spiral, right? And it's you know, we help people stretch out of their comfort zones. And one of these areas when we're stressed out is if we can throw ourselves into action instead of, you know, many of us would probably relate, is we put things off. We may procrastinate. And then when we procrastinate, we get this, we could have this overwhelming feeling like, you know, if we have this stack of to-dos, right? This overwhelming feeling. So, you know, when we're able to really make that commitment to look at our goals and put some enthusiasm towards it, put some action towards it, right? That's what lights that fire, lights that spark so that we can keep on moving forward. Yeah, so and number 7, cooperate with the inevitable. It's you know, it's inevitable in our area here in Ontario, it's going to snow. It may not feel like it right now because it's probably going to be about 20 degrees Celsius today, but it's inevitable. We're going to get snow, so I'm not going to worry about it. So it's, you know, again, putting things into perspective, right? Cooperate with inevitable can help you move forward. Number 8 is decide just how much anxiety a thing may be worth and refuse to give it more. This is just, you know, putting your limits. Often, we'll also share the Dale Carnegie Golden Booklet. Joanna, if you could please put that link in the chat. The Dale Carnegie Golden Booklet actually summarizes all of these 30 principles. We're just highlighting 10 here. And, you know, number 9 is do the very best you can. Count your blessings, not your troubles. We've heard this today, right? You know, Leslie, as you've been driving into work, is count your blessings. Let's be thankful for what we have and what we see here today. Is again putting these principles into perspective. So just taking a look at these principles, let's take a look at which principles right now would be useful and applicable for you to apply. And please just put that in the chat. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Arlene. I love your enthusiasm.
Just a couple that I would not now. I'm cognizant of the time here, but and put enthusiasm into your work. If at some point maybe I could get some guidance or I deal with parts of my job that I cannot stand. Right now we're doing budget. I can't stand finance and I can't stand numbers, but it's part of my job. Getting enthusiastic about that is hard for me. Getting enthusiastic when I have a lot of negative faculty and other staff around me, it makes it difficult to become enthusiastic when you're just what's the word? just everyone around you is just so negative. And
Okay.
so at some point, I'll probably be reaching out just for some sort of ideas on how I can overcome those things, especially with work I don't like to do. And just briefly, number 10, count your blessings, not your troubles. I wake up in the morning and immediately start to think of everything that's going to go wrong or negative, and I should actually, and I know this, should actually be thinking of all the great things that are going to happen that day, all my blessings.
Sure.
So I'll need to, but yeah, those two things are things I really need to work on.
Awesome. And might I suggest does anyone use a journal? Or used a journal in the past? Okay, Arlene, you have one. Yeah. I was do you regularly?
Every day since I was 12. Every day. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, it's sometimes one of my trainers a while back, she gave me this gratitude journal. I mean, you could have a blank piece of paper, whatever, but I had a gratitude journal, and it's every day it said, what are you grateful for? And it really made me, I look back at that and I'm like, wow. So yeah, what a way to, just actually write it down, right? And please don't be worried about talking too much. This is interactive. It's all good. Thanks, Arlene. And how about yourself, Leslie? Which principles resonate for you?
Well, we definitely, I definitely work hard to make sure we have a lot of fun here at work.
Okay.
Paul,
Right.
do you agree, Cassie? So I can definitely relate to that. I think it's really important. I think it does make me look forward to coming here every day, even though there is stress with all that we're trying to accomplish. But I know that we're going to every day have a good time and work through the challenges of the day, the challenges of some of the things that go wrong that are inevitable at times. So that
Sure,
really
sure.
does resonate. And then I think the counting of blessings is something I do very much every day, not in a formal way with journaling, but even just talking about it with family and friends and my kids. And then I resonate with create happiness for others. I think that it's not a hard thing to do and it doesn't cost anything. It just might take a little time. Pick up the phone, visit somebody, send someone a card or a note, do something
Yeah.
for someone that they weren't expecting. I think that definitely makes a big difference for me.
Yeah, right on. It's really being intentional about, like you said, just picking up that card and doing it, right? It's we can often, I mean, it's life. We can get into that automatic rhythm of life.
Yep.
And yeah, just stopping ourselves to really just count our blessings, look outside, literally smell the roses, right? Uh, Thank you. Yeah. And just curious, Paul or Cassie, I just want to hear from you. What are the impacts of Leslie's um, intentions on creating a fun environment? What have you seen as the impact?
Just better office morale.
Yeah. And wow,
Not
doesn't
even
that
in the
make a
office,
difference?
like that, it carries on throughout the entire building, from the office to the guys downstairs and
Yeah.
just every part of the organization.
Yeah, right on. It's how we react, how we, the choices we make can make an impact on our environment, impact whether it's even personally or professionally, right? Is good for you as a team. It sounds like making it an intentional effort to create that positive culture, that growth culture. So looking right down on your pad of paper, what is one action you're going to take between now and next week to manage your stress? Perhaps it's any of these principles. Where do you need to stretch yourself? Maybe there's something you're procrastinating. You need to add more enthusiasm to. Think about a stressful situation you're in right now and write down, what are you going to take? What action are you going to take? And Paul, if you'd like to come off mute, that's wonderful feedback for Leslie. Just tell us, your perspective here.
Well, I think that we all work very hard to do our job and do it, excuse me, to the best of our ability. And it definitely helps coming into an environment that is really relatively low key compared to a lot of situations. My issue, like I just texted, is that I need to, when I walk through the door in the morning, I need to kind of focus on leaving my outside stress outside, because bringing that in, it can make a really good situation feel really bad very quickly, and that's one thing that I'm going to work on, is being more cognizant of leaving that outside.
Okay. And it sounds like it's, creating a positive culture, creating that, that dynamic culture is important to you, and good for you for being aware, because that's one step, is being aware of what is stressing us is the first step. The second step is to create, what am I going to do differently, is that choice. So, as we leave today, please share that one action with someone that can hold you accountable. And it sounds like the three of you have each other to coach and support along. For the others, please, I recommend is share your commitment with someone else, maybe a mentor or whomever it may be, and help let them help you move forward as we go. I just want to share one quote with you from Bob Marley is, you never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. And we all have it within us. And it's been a pleasure being with everyone today. Thank you for your openness, because this is what, it helps for everyone to be open when we are talking about managing our stress. And again, being aware that we do have that stress, and, creating that future for yourselves. Please keep on looking towards what you're creating here, what outcome, as we really do have the choice of having an impact on that outcome. So thank you.